The national media is not sleeping on the Giants because there is nothing to see. They are sleeping because they are still judging an old version of Big Blue. That is the part nobody is seeing. This is not blind fan hype. This is not just Giants Nation talking itself into another offseason dream. This is a team with a new head coach, a new quarterback foundation, a widely acclaimed draft class, a rebuilt defensive front, and betting markets suddenly circling the upside. And yet, somehow, the power rankings still treat the Giants like a punchline. That disconnect changes everything. John Harbaugh is not here to manage a soft rebuild. Schoen is not making these moves to win press conferences. Jaxson Dart is not being positioned as the quarterback of the present and future just so the Giants can stay stuck near the bottom. The outside world sees last year's scars. Inside the building, the Giants are building a different animal. And by the end of this, you will understand why the disrespect might be the fuel that lights the whole season. Let's be honest about where things stand. The holes are clear, and the pressure is real. The Giants are still carrying the weight of a bad reputation. National power rankings do not care about feelings. They see a team that has been mocked, doubted, and dismissed. They see another franchise promising change after years of frustration. That is the problem. The offensive line still has to prove it can protect Jaxson Dart. Dart is the starting quarterback, and that means every protection breakdown becomes more than a bad play. It becomes a threat to the entire rebuild. The defensive line has to prove the Dexter Lawrence trade did not rip out the heart of the front. Trading Dexter to the Bengals for the 10th overall pick is not a normal roster move. That is a franchise-defining gamble. The emotional translation is simple. When you move a player that important, fans do not want explanations. They want proof. The rookie class has to prove the praise is real. Arvell, Reese, and Mauigoa cannot just be names on a draft graphic. They are being framed as top 10 talents expected to step into big roles immediately. That is a lot of pressure for young players walking into a desperate football city. The veteran additions have to prove they are more than patches. Shelby Harris and Leki Fotu are being asked to help stabilize the post-Lawrence defensive front. If they do not hold up, the bully ball identity becomes just a slogan, and the national disrespect creates another issue. It can motivate you, or it can expose you. If the Giants are truly being underestimated, this is fuel. If the media is right, this becomes another painful hype cycle. That is the tension, and that brings us to the contradiction everyone should be talking about. The headline is not just that the Giants are low in power rankings. The headline is that the power rankings are ignoring the exact signals that usually tell you a team is about to jump. That contradiction has real weight. The brief says the Giants remain near the bottom in most post-draft national power rankings. But it also says they are listed among 5 teams with the best odds to go worst to first in 2026. That number matters because it means this is not just Giants fans yelling into the internet. A worst to first projection means people outside the building can see the path. They can see the setup. They can see the ingredients. And then the power rankings act like none of it matters. That is why this story hits. If the Giants were just being universally ignored, fine. That would be simple. But this is not simple. This is a split-screen narrative. One side says Big Blue has real turnaround potential. The other side says they still belong near the basement. Now here is the piece that ties everything together. The brief also says the Giants are the most bet NFC team to make the Super Bowl after the draft. That matters because betting markets are not just emotional noise. They show where people are putting money before the mainstream story catches up. It does not make the Giants favorites. Let's be clear. But it does mean the market sees something interesting. So ask the real question. Why would bettors see upside while power rankings still bury the team? Because power rankings often punish the past. Betting markets search for movement. And the Giants have movement everywhere. John Harbaugh is a brand new, highly respected head coach in this building. That alone changes the tone. This is not a cosmetic coaching hire. This is a shift in philosophy, identity, and long-term vision. Jaxson Dart is the quarterback of the present and future. That matters because the Giants are no longer wandering through quarterback fog. The offense has a center of gravity now. The draft class is widely acclaimed. That matters because the roster did not just get younger. It got more intentional, and the defensive line has been completely revamped. That matters because Harbaugh football starts with physical control. If you cannot hold the trenches, you cannot sell bully ball. This is the part nobody is talking about. The media is not just disrespecting a team. They are disrespecting the possibility that a real identity can change a franchise faster than expected. I am not saying the Giants are suddenly perfect. They are not. I am saying the national conversation is lazy if it only sees last season and ignores every structural change since then. Harbaugh gives this team teeth. Schoen is giving him pieces. Dart gives the plan a quarterback. That is not nothing. And when you see how the draft class fits the Harbaugh blueprint, the whole picture gets sharper. The disrespect creates the fire, but the draft class is the engine. That is the bridge. Harbaugh can bring culture. Schoen still has to bring players who fit that culture. And this draft class was built to do more than sit and wait. The brief calls the class widely acclaimed. That matters because the Giants are not trying to sell fans a secret. The praise is already out there. That phrase matters emotionally because Giants fans have lived through too many draft weekends where hope faded fast. A widely acclaimed class gives the fan base permission to believe, but it also raises the standard immediately. Arvell, Reese, and Francis Mauigoa are the headline pieces. The brief frames them as two top 10 picks expected to step into big roles immediately. That number matters because top 10 picks are not luxury items. They are supposed to change the math. They are supposed to walk into the building and make the depth chart uncomfortable. Reese matters because the Giants need defensive playmaking. He represents the kind of young force Harbaugh can mold into a tone setter. If this team wants bully ball, it needs defenders who can run, hit, and erase mistakes. Mauigoa matters because the offensive line is tied directly to Dart's development. If Mauigoa can help fix the offensive line as a potential immediate starter, that is not just a line upgrade. That is a quarterback investment. The emotional translation is simple. Protect Dart, and the rebuild breathes. Fail to protect Dart, and the entire plan starts gasping. Then you get the sleeper layer. Bobby Jamison Travis, J.C. Davis, and Jack Kelly give the Giants day 3 names to develop. Dominic Zvada brings a 70-yard leg. Kavorian Barnes and Ben Barton add more depth and competition. That number matters because a 70-yard leg is not just a fun scouting note. It changes how a coaching staff thinks about field position, late half decisions, and hidden points. This is where the mosaic starts to make sense. Harbaugh wants toughness. Schoen drafts immediate role talent. Dart gets more support. The roster gets deeper. The media still shrugs. That is fuel. And there is another layer. The brief says Joe Schoen is pleased with the draft. That matters because the head coach and general manager cannot be pulling in opposite directions. If Harbaugh wants old-school revival and Schoen drafts players who fit that DNA, the Giants finally have alignment. Alignment is how you stop drifting. The G-men are not just adding rookies. They are building a personality. And when you combine that draft class with what happened on the defensive line, you see the risk level behind the whole plan. The draft class shows the future. The defensive line overhaul proves the front office is willing to pay a painful price for that future. Because the Dexter Lawrence trade is the move that makes everyone choose a side. The brief says Dexter Lawrence was traded to the Bengals for the 10th overall pick. That number matters because the 10th overall pick is premium capital. You do not get that kind of return unless the front office is making a major philosophical decision. And I know Giants fans felt that one. Dexter was not just another name. Moving him creates an emotional vacuum. It forces the team to prove the plan immediately. But this is where I take my position. If Harbaugh is truly rebuilding the Giants' DNA, then the front office cannot be afraid of uncomfortable moves. You do not build a new identity by protecting every old attachment. You build it by deciding what fits the next version. Shelby Harris and Leki Fotu are the immediate response. That matters because the Giants did not trade Dexter and ignore the trench. Harris brings veteran stability. Fotu brings another body for the run game. Neither has to be sold as Dexter 1-for-1. That is not the point. The point is rotation, role clarity, and fit. The DJ Reader rumors make the front even more interesting. If Reader is still very much in the mix, or if the Giants are trying to get the number right, that tells you this rebuild is still active. And then there is Kayvon Thibodeaux. The brief says the trade rumors fizzled because the Giants wanted a second-round pick, while the Saints only offered a 4th. That matters because it shows the Giants are not just dumping talent. They had a price. They did not get it. So Kayvon stays as a core piece in the new front. That is smart. You do not build bully ball by giving away explosive players for discounts. Then add Abdul Carter, who led the NFL in quick pressures in 2025. That matters because quick pressure changes games before coverage breaks. It turns hesitation into panic. It gives Harbaugh a real weapon for this new defensive personality. This is the proof. The Giants are not passively hoping. They are cutting, signing, drafting, and reshaping the front around a harder identity. Now the hot take is unavoidable. Hot take. The national media is going to look wrong on the Giants, and I am not backing down from that. My prediction is this. The Giants will win no fewer than 9 games this season. That number matters because 9 wins changes the conversation completely. It turns the Giants from off-season curiosity into real NFC East pressure. If I am wrong, I will come back to this video and own it. But I do not think I am wrong. Here's why. Jaxson Dart gives the offense direction. Harbaugh gives the franchise a standard. Schoen's draft class gives the roster immediate impact pieces. The defensive line overhaul gives the team a harder edge. And the national disrespect gives that locker room a clean enemy. That matters more than people admit. Now, I know some fans will say the Dexter trade was too much. I hear that. But I would rather have a front office that makes a painful bet with a plan than a front office that clings to comfort and stays mediocre. And I will say this clearly. Keeping Kayvon Thibodeaux was the right call. A 4th-round offer from the Saints was not enough. Not even close. Kayvon still belongs in this new front. Dexter was the painful reset. Dart is the future. Harbaugh is the standard. That is the line. Big Blue is back at the table, and this time the plan has a fist behind it. That is the episode. The national media can keep sleeping. The power rankings can keep disrespecting. But the Giants have a new head coach, a real quarterback direction, a widely acclaimed draft class, a rebuilt defensive line, and a locker room built around proving people wrong. Giants Nation, pick a side. Is the media completely missing the boat? Or are fans drinking too much off-season Kool-Aid again? No fence sitting. If you are riding with the New York Football Giants through the Harbaugh rebuild, the Dart era, the uncomfortable trades, and the worst to first chase, you know where that subscribe button is. We break down every bold move. Go Big Blue.